There's kind of an east-west divide, right? So more people settled in the east coast originally because the land was better, right? So nowadays you have the capital city on the east coast. The west coast of Ireland, areas like this, the Ring of Kerry, where we're going tomorrow, where I come from in Galway, the west coast has very much been left to its own devices in many ways. It's been very much kind of forgotten about in a way. It's only in the last 20 years that we actually have a proper road that connects Galway to Dublin, you know, a highway. Back when I was younger, you had to drive through every goddamn town and village to get to Dublin. You know, it could take you 5-6 hours. Nowadays it takes 2 hours on a 4-lane, 2-lane each way highway, kind of like what we drove on yesterday. So the west of Ireland has been kind of left to its own devices in many ways, kind of isolated in many ways from the rest of the country. So therefore the west of Ireland has held on to these traditional values more than other parts of the island, you know, and it's held on to the language more. So that's why you have the big communities of Irish speakers are found along the west coast. You have pockets of Irish speaking regions all over the country, but the big ones, the big communities are here on these peninsulas, west of Galway and Connemara, up in Donegal in the northwest, in Gweedore and places like that. So it's they've held on to these traditional values more, and because they've traditionally been somewhat isolated out here, and they're less influenced, you know, and they're on the edge of Ireland, on the edge of Europe, whereas the east coast is more connected to London and England. You know, it's only a short trip over to London. So there's more infrastructure on the east coast of the country. More people live there. Yeah, the west is very different, you know. It's there's people out on this peninsula here that couldn't care less what's happening in Dublin, or couldn't care less what's happening anywhere, really. They're just out here on the west coast of Ireland trying to make a living, you know, dealing with this bad weather. It rains more over here, it's wilder, the land isn't as good for farming, so it's a different way of life on the west coast, really. I'm just going to pull in here real quick, guys, for a second. There's a little stone house, well, quite a large stone house. Yeah. Yeah, this little... You kind of slowed down.
You're on YouTube.
I just want to tell you a little bit about
this. That.
Yeah, this stone house here. If you remember when we were in Dublin, do you remember I pointed out a statue of a guy at O'Connell Street, that main street in Dublin? There's a statue of a man there facing that bridge at the River Liffey in Dublin, and his name is Daniel O'Connell. And Daniel O'Connell was born in this house here in 1775. All right? Yeah, so they're trying to kind of restore it. I see they've put braces, wooden braces on it. So Daniel O'Connell was born here in 1775, and the reason there's a large statue of Daniel O'Connell right in the centre of Dublin is because Daniel O'Connell, when the British were here, the British didn't want Catholicism going on in Ireland at all. So they tried to stamp out Catholicism.